Okay.
All right, let's get into our first discussion of the day now. Yeah. The Nigerian Air Force is recording great successes in Zamfara state against bandits who have terrorized the area for some time now.
Yes, indeed. And in collaboration with ground military troops, the Air Force, in its clearance operation, has carried out air attacks on bandits' locations, killing many of them. Combat aircraft deployed to the region, along with personnel, have restored peace to the once troubled area after an order from President Muhammadu Buhari.
Now Operation Diramikia is not over, but the troops say they have degraded the armed bandits and hope to do even more. Okay. Now we have in the studio a security practitioner, a security consultant, Oladeinde Ario. Good morning.
I'm not an expert. Good morning. How are you?
Nice to see you.
Same here.
All right. Now, every time the military, either Air Force or the Army, record successes like this, it is always when they have a special operation, maybe like a sting operation and all of that. And the Nigerians become happy and all of that. And then after a little while, it seems like everything goes back to the way it used to be. Why do we have to wait for special operations like this for successes to be recorded and then we go back?
Well, first, I want to commend them, for the huge success that they have recorded. Well, number two, I also want to say that what you saw there working for them is quality intelligence. I've always said that all the lapses that were noticeable in military operations, they could be corrected if they have quality intelligence gathering. And you could see it now in action, and they also admitted it. That's again why I kept saying that removing the heads of the services are not really the solution, that we can still get it corrected if the intelligence can dot their I's and cross their T's. So for me, they've done very well. When you say you want the regular thing to be like this, certain problems, if they come special, they also need to be specially handled. Okay?
Specially handled in what
way?
Especially
handled in terms of equipment, in terms of motivation, in terms of even the quantity or number of the troops. Okay? Again, engagement rules also will have to be altered in some instances. I can't explain that for reasons which you and I know, but you always see these things happening. Banditry emerged from nowhere. Remember, we were battling with Boko Haram, suddenly herdsmen emerged, and then banditry now came. Theirs was something that because you didn't really know what they wanted. Okay? It was an unfounded thing, very mindless, and they were deadly. Which the non-president came and said they should treat them, they should not give them glove treatment, no soft treatment. And that's where we are today.
But from your standpoint, what do you think it is that's going on in Zamfara? I mean, we always describe it as banditry, as against herdsmen, farmers' clashes in Benue State, for example. And then you have this massive deployment of 1,000 troops, of course, in concert with other security agencies and all of that. What exactly is at the root of this, so that the successes can actually be sustained?
Yes, over the time, we've not been able to pinpoint the specific reasons why banditry emerged. Some said it was for political destabilization, whereby the government at the center or even in the state will be made to look bad, that they were being sponsored by opposition and all of that. Unfortunately, nobody has any firm hold on that, so it becomes unreliable. But for all I care, so long as what they are doing is criminal in nature and they are destroying lives and properties, they should not be allowed to even exist in the first place. So we may not bother too much into going to why they are there. Okay, I think we should start with why they should not be there, and then make sure everything is done to exterminate them.
Okay. Now, in the herdsmen, the bandits or banditry, and even terrorism by Boko Haram, usually, from reports we have gotten, even from history, someone would say these things have existed for a long time. But right now, when they're not taken care of, the metamorphose into
else.
monster, and then we start making budgets, and then we start running helter skelter to handle them. Now, the military, the intelligence you talked about certainly would know that this banditry have been on ground for at least we've heard some of the senators from there make comments about this before.
And doing and running, they may not know.
Why would they not know?
I said, if they are not, you see, you must be upfront for you to be effective. But if you are not upfront and then you are reactive, then success will not be achieved.
Okay, so they should be more proactive.
Exactly.
But let me talk about the intel that you mentioned earlier. It goes to show how important intelligence is. So no amount of equipping or motivating of the forces
without quality intelligence intel. No, it will not work.
So how do you ensure that the people who really should be the ones providing information that will lead to intel, that they actually come out and they don't pull back from
when we say
information.
Intelligence in basic language, we're talking about information, but not just information now, qualitative information, such that can be relied upon in making plans and then in coming up with strategies to confront situations. Okay, now there are people who are trained in this art and who are engaged by God to deliver all of that. Now, if they are not delivering, I would rather we go into why they are not delivering or why they have to wait for social moments when a crisis will have festered, and like Riley said, that will have escalated before they can now wake up and do what they should have done normally in the course of their daily runs. That should be challenged because it makes the government to look bad, and it also makes the position of the armed forces weakened. Okay, because we cannot just be waiting until we now come arms and all. No. If they have information, a whole lot of this crisis will have been nipped in the bud before they even come to the fore.
All right. The issue of intelligence, you said it is a backbone or bedrock of any of those operations, which certainly we agree. But if you look at the Nigerian security agencies, for instance, maybe the DSS or the NIA or the police, don't they have the capacity to get those qualitative intelligence you said earlier on before it even gets out of hand?
You know, we've always had this interagency collaboration thing. But the question you want to ask yourself is, how effective has it been? Then how forthcoming have they been in sharing information? Because if you have information, for instance, at the intelligence level, and the Army, Navy, or Air Force, they're not informed, how do they react or respond to what you already know what was going to happen or was already happening at a micro level? So I think they should do more to strengthen interagency collaboration.
And that seems to be happening in this instance.
Yes,
now.
because you can see the sources they are recording here,
results.
Intelligence provided information, they plotted and planned the way to go around the...
But there's a danger. In the month of August alone, there have been 3 or 4 gains on the part of the security agencies against the bandits.
Yeah. So
is there a danger of collateral damage? Because before you know it, Amnesty International comes out and says, in the cause of taking out these bandits and all of that, there has been some
civilian casualties.
You see, it's not a local problem; it's a global challenge. At any time that you have military operations, there will always be collateral damage. What they try to do is to reduce it to the minimum. I mean, except where, because the people also, they have a role to play in all of that. Some people will want to say, we will stay and protect our properties or our means of livelihood. So they get caught up in the crossfire. Okay, outside of that, I mean, I was watching TV, we're talking about the trouble in Hawaii. You saw everybody moving at the airport, on the roads, everywhere. They were leaving their treasures behind and running away. Okay, that's where they have the understanding. But where people feel, we will not take it. They want to
you still had a few people who refused to move, even in the case of Hawaii and the fires in California.
There will always be cases like that.
So when that happens, there is no way that they will not find themselves within the crossfire zones and then
they're caught.
That's the way of the world.
All right. Now, when it comes to this bandits and all this threat to security, government officials, almost everyone has agreed that there is this international cross-border,
It's not peculiar
operation,
to Nigeria. It's a
which
global
makes it a
problem.
regional or a sub-regional.
It's a global problem.
So when it comes to inter-diplomatic or maybe a cooperation, like is it Nigeria, Niger, or Benin Republic, Cameroon, and all of that, how much of that is really going on from what you assess?
Well, unfortunately, again, I'm not in government. We can only glean from what we read in the press or what we're told in the news. But to that extent, I think it's on. Remember also, about last week, there was a vessel bringing arms to Nigeria,
from South Africa?
Illegal arms, and then the vessel was impounded in South Africa. I mean, they could have allowed the vessel to sail, and then those who were bringing the vessel, they must have had their plan regarding how they will get to Nigerian waters and offload their illegal content.
You just mentioned something important there, because you want to even imagine the one that got away. I mean, if we say this particular one was impounded, and Nigeria has the highest proliferation of small arms and weaponry in
Sub-Saharan Africa.
About 70%, it domiciled in Nigeria. That is a cause for concern.
The reason for that is not distant. We have too many unguarded borders. The entry points into Nigeria, they are so vast. And I don't want to say government is not doing what it should do, but I think they need to do a lot of buying in, whereby the natives too, they are brought into the picture, letting them know that it's about nation, about all of us. That way, again, intelligence comes in there. You've seen the recorded civilian JTF working with the army over fighting terrorism. That's what we should be looking at now. We will not be able to secure our border unless we can build walls, which
is almost impossible.
It's impossible.
But all
only
of those,
Trump,
are they
only
not,
President Trump wants to do that.
Well, he's doing it against Mexico.
it looks like he might succeed with the new collaboration between the U.S. and Mexico now. But let's even delve into the fundamentals. The NAF spokesperson, if I can remember his name, Ibikunle Daramola, Air Commodore Ibikunle Daramola, actually made a call out to bandits that they should eschew violence, drop their weapons and all of that, and just submit themselves to the authorities and all of that. Surrender. Is it enough to make such pronouncements, or what kind of incentive, or incentives, if you like, should you be giving them to encourage them to actually drop their weapons?
It's a global warfare practice. Like they say in some faiths, that they say you are better if you are forgiven, if you repent and you are forgiven, than be destroyed. In all of these things, these bandits, except it's been established, are Nigerians. And Nigerian Army, Air Force and Navy will not be happy if they have to start killing Nigerians. Don't forget that. They must have been reorientated in a way that they saw what they are doing as good or ideal, hence they were doing it. But at a point where they've been decimated and you still feel, okay, perhaps the remaining ones who are alive, if appealed to, if spoken to, may see sense and then surrender.
It takes me back to the question I asked you earlier. Why is banditry on the rise? Have the authorities been able to determine exactly what are the circumstances, the situations
the only thing
make
that
those people buy into
which
banditry?
Is in public space is the fact they are being sponsored by enemies of the government. Now, when you say enemies of the government, it's a very vague terminology. Who do you want to place? I may not be in the same party with you, but that doesn't qualify me to be an enemy of the government. Again, I remember talking about fifth columnists, those two tribes in wartime. Yes, I mean, international arms dealers and all of that. You cannot put anything past them because they are able to sell their wares when there is crisis. You can't put that past them. Aside from that, there are people within the system who may want to just cause mayhem for whatever reason. Especially
when the government says security is one thing it wants to deliver.
Exactly. And you see, so much money is committed to security annually in our budget. Okay, that could be their own way of saying, okay, let's cause crisis. I mean, at this point, maybe they'll get a share of the money. It's possible.
No, but the government who is in place, not necessarily this administration, but I'm talking about government who should know if there are enemies of the government, either from within or without. If you check the body language or how proactive they are, do you think they are really handling the issues the way they're supposed to?
No, I wouldn't give them a pass
when they
mark.
know that the
I wouldn't-
activities
I
of that
wouldn't give them
enemy
a pass
is
mark.
pronounced enough.
I won't give them a pass mark. But you see, what I found funny was that the last 3-4 weeks, when the president was not in Nigeria, there was complete inactivity, either by Boko Haram, the bandits, or the herdsmen. And I've been trying to decode the reason why. Yeah. For me, it's instructive. Oh, yeah, it's instructive. Unfortunately, till now, I'm not able to put my hands on why it's so.
That's kind of special coincidence.
I mean, it wasn't happening the first time. It's happened repeatedly, and then you must begin to ask questions. But what really made me glad was when he came in and he said they should treat them, with a minimum force. With maximum force, no mercy, and all of that. When he said that,
that's sort of like changed
exactly.
The game.
So that coming for me is expressing strong political will to confront the situation. But like we agreed earlier on, it shouldn't be an irregular thing. It should be the flow, 247. That should be the flow.
Keeping the momentum up there.
Keep it upbeat, running. That way, the country will be a lot more secure. Again, anyone planning to go into either banditry, robbery, kidnapping, whatever, they will know that, hey, don't do it, you'll get caught. Last night, as I was getting to Lagos, the man that carried me was telling me that Lagos is safe in the day and in the night. A taxi driver. He's not on his road. He said Lagos is safe. That he feels comfortable carrying passengers from Ikeja to Lekki to wherever, and he's not bothered. So it's because Lagos is upfront with security.
More proactive.
You can, and extremely proactive. You can see the signs. You can see the operatives everywhere. You will feel that there's security in Lagos.
But do you think the security threats?
So the same thing should be translated
in places like Zamfara and elsewhere.
Yeah, but when it comes to the issue of translating this, Lagos is a state government who originally don't have control of the security apparatus, whether it is the DSS or it is the police or it is the military.
No state has.
Exactly. So
somehow they seem to be able to
complement maybe what the security agencies are doing.
You see what Lagos government is even doing. I don't have my figures though, but I think Lagos government is spending more on policemen, on policing Lagos State than federal government. I read the report
about 2 years ago, Lagos
State report yesterday
about 4 billion
where the analyst was saying that there is no federal presence in Lagos. That Lagos government is able, capably managing Lagos.
Security.
So whatever template Lagos is using, other states can actually.
If I'm doing something that you are seeing is working and succeeding.
But do you think that this whole security situation in Nigeria has been politicized and it is helping these security challenges to actually linger further, whether it's Boko Haram, herdsmen, farmers, clashes, or banditry?
When we go back to the origin of Boko Haram, it began like a child's play. It was a mere religious misunderstanding that should never have lasted for more than a day or a week. But what happened? So much politics came in, and then the economy of profit making also came in. Then also those who also want to just make sure things are not working, they also came in, and then it became badly managed. And what happens? Boko Haram now became a big monster. There was a period here in Nigeria that bombs were going off, killing people in large numbers. Okay, until let me now say the government came in, and some measure of sanity were brought to bear on the activity. So we got to move away from all of that. There's a job to be done. Let's do it. The primary role of government, basically for me, is to ensure the security of land and property of Nigerians, whereby they can fulfill or achieve their dreams. All right. Failing that, it's not right.
Okay. What is it really about Nigeria that we have all of these monsters in herdsmen and in Boko Haram and in banditry operating almost at the same time? If it is the issue of porous borders, our neighbors countries, neighboring countries, they have the same.
Better than
they have the same challenges and all of that. But we don't hear the extent of all of this in their countries.
No, we are moving to politics. You see, all of these things we're talking of. Assuming, okay, the two of you, right? Assuming it's a home, a father and a mother with 2 or 3 children, it definitely will be easier to manage than a home with 1 man and 15 wives, for instance, and several children. Contending interests. It may not make sense to you, but if at our own corner we feel this is how it should be, you can talk all the grammar you want, we will go and we will cause crisis. Yesterday, I read a report. The Nigerian people, they are gathering again. One federal government to restructure, failing which they will go back to the creeks and start destroying things. Now, to the man in Ijebu-Ode, that doesn't concern him. To the man in Borno, he has enough to battle with the terrorism already. The Zamfara man is facing banditry. The man in Benue is facing the henchmen. You can understand all of that within that context. The fact that we are so many people, different tribes, ethnic groups, minority, majority, again, the faith-based organizations, so they are not helping matters. They are not preaching unity, they are preaching hate. That's the truth. More is not being done to unite Nigeria. More is being done to scatter us.
Widen the fault lines.
Yeah, using God bless you, using the totality of religion,
the blame
faith,
game,
and then the ethnicity, and blame game, which will not, it doesn't all go well anywhere. So we should all go back to wherever we took off from and begin to effect these changes from the family level, whereby you don't allow anybody to come into your family or house and be preaching heretics.
But don't you think even the family has been decimated when you don't provide education? There's no health facility and all of that. I mean, you know, I asked you a question earlier about the root cause of the rise in banditry and, you know, terrorism and all of that. Imagine an educated young man who has the basic and has hope for a future, that his education can actually convert to better living, you know, better opportunities and all of that. Would he buy into banditry, for example, when he feels there's so much to lose?
I will simply tell you that being educated or carrying a degree or change of degrees and being educated and sensible or reasonable, they are not one and the same. Okay? We've read of a guy, a medical doctor, that has worked in elite hospitals in Lagos and ended up being an armed robber here. We've read of another medical doctor that abandoned his medical practice to go into hacking. Okay? So all of these things, it doesn't stop at that. But what we need to do now is to go back to the family and community cohesion, whereby growing up, if you misbehave on our street, the man there will discipline you. Okay, and if you should get home and report, you will be given twice the beating.
So values need to
value system, yes, that's where I'm going.
But how do we restore that value now, where we're talking about a sophisticated society, a Western society, individualistic society, where that's weaving of values and they've been fragmented one way or another. So how do we bring it back?
To this point. We got to this point. Through what I called the bent towards seeing the West as civilization and ignoring those fundamentals that made
cultural values,
our ancestors, yes, to have lived through the times they did more, in a greater peace than what we are now experiencing. So we know, all of us know, we are saying it everywhere we express it. Why don't we start, they say the change starts that you want, you start from you. Why don't we start from where we are and begin to influence things?
Well, like they say, society is dynamic. And when society changes,
so if we change in a direction that is not working for us, we should retrace our steps and go back to where we came from.
So how do we equip ourselves, both you know, socially or sociologically, and in terms of technology, when it comes to what we're even talking about here?
Right.
I mean, I penned down something where the security agencies actually cited the use of advanced satellite surveillance technology and all of that, which means they have been able to up their game somewhat, and they're now, you know, gaining some successes. But then again, is there enough funding. Well, like they say, funding is never really
Well,
enough.
funding can never help.
So especially
for security.
Funding can never be enough. Thank God you realize
yeah,
that.
I take it back. But then again, not too long ago, when some security operatives visited with the president, they actually asked for more equipment.
Yeah.
And what have you?
I
And then you
remember
have the
there was a case
1,000
in
1
Kano,
bill. Yeah.
where some policemen, where they rioted, they protested.
In Maiduguri?
In Maiduguri
yeah,
too, we had a similar
in,
situation.
yeah.
And then, was it last year when some tried to attack their commander, I know, over welfare issues. So for that, well, if we can eliminate corruption in managing security funds, to a large extent, we can manage with that. We'll be able to move a lot better. Now, we all have cultural practices that we have jettisoned. Okay, whether you are Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa, or from whatever tribe you have come from, it's only now that we have realized that, we missed some things. Let's go back to where we left off and then begin to rebuild.
But do you think the
cohesion.
concept of going back in itself is a good thing, rather than actually looking forward?
When you say going back, I'm not preaching being backward now.
Yeah, I understand that.
I'm talking of integration
but
now.
Really, what really was in the past that can help us face the challenges of the future, like terrorism?
The value system. For instance, my mom will search my bag every Friday looking for pencil or whatever that she didn't buy for me.
That doesn't belong
to me. That shouldn't be in my possession. And if she found anything there, you can be sure the beating will be out of here. Where are the parents still doing all of that now? Don't parents now encourage, mothers, fathers encouraging their girls to bring in men who will come and give them money? We can give more examples.
Or encourage children to pass exams by all means.
But parents go to
unconventional means,
they go to pay what do they call it? There's a name
special
for them.
centers.
That one is the guerrilla people to come and sit for exams. For as long as we are doing that, I mean, we don't all have to go to university system anyway. But for as long as everybody must go through, then we are not passing education. They're only going through the process of reading and then writing exams. Okay? They are not really educated.
Apart from the families where parents have become too busy looking for
the father will have left the house
means of livelihood.
6 a.m. The mother will go maybe an hour or 30 minutes later. They won't come back until
maybe
the
later in the evening.
nights.
But the point there is, besides the parents, the traditional rulers who are seen as the custodians of our culture and values, they don't seem to be in the center of governance in any way. So how do they instill that value? If you talk about going back into...
Well, we were at a meeting and the traditional ruler was speaking to us in English language. Okay. And we're trying to resolve a problem in Yoruba community. I had to remind the KBC, these people we are talking to, they don't understand English at that level. Yeah. Please speak Yoruba.
So you could actually, the same would apply to places like the Northeast, where you have these challenges.
That could tell you, then the respect that we had for our traditional beliefs and belief system, they've been eroded because your traditional ruler now is a pastor. Singing in the church.
All right, don't even go there. Now we have a clear and present danger. The headlines today are awash with the latest reports. Of course, they're not really new. What the UK Prime Minister has said, that most of the world's poor are in Nigeria. And you could say the same for the Northeast. And I'm going back to that fundamental question as to how do you solve these problems at the very core, right? And when the government says we're going to pump in 500 billion naira to alleviate poverty, how does it solve this problem in such a way that you don't see manifestations of all of this security threats?
The mentality of throwing money into problems, we should do away with that. We should really do more of research and try to identify why things are the way they are. Over the years, more children have been out of school than those who should be instead of being in school. Over the years, more people have left university. They've been trained, some through tertiary, and they don't have jobs to do. They now become ready-made hands for stuff like banditry and all other criminal activities. So, and the only reason why it's like that, it is the disconnect between the government and the governed. And what the plank, the real plank for this is corruption. Because when money is voted for a thing and it's not done, I have seen a man giving a job to paint a property, and I followed him to the site. They've not cut the grass. Talk less of erecting a building. You see, those are not ways to grow a nation. And I also think that too much focus is on the federal government. The states should also be called to account.
Back to the issue of the structure of the politics.
So when we say restructure, some people don't understand. They think you're only being politically minded.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's not so.
We have to leave it here now. Olade in the area. Thank you so much,
And
security.
you drag me into discussing politics.
No, but the point there is, it's all a mix.
Yeah, man, there's a relationship.
Yes,
They are connected.
we thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.